This video includes two topics, 5.8 and 5.16, impacts of overfishing and aquaculture. While the bulk of dietary protein is found in the consumption of land-based animals and animal products, as well as about 1/3 of protein intake from plant products, fish has long been an important food source for many societies. Fishing is ancient, dating back to the Paleolithic, at least 40,000 years ago. For those groups of people who inhabit coastal areas or live near rivers in which fish are abundant, it is often the most readily accessible source of protein. Large-scale, far offshore fishing has given way to aquaculture, also known as fish farming, as the dominant method for harvesting fish. Both traditional capture fisheries and aquaculture bring with them advantages and disadvantages of their use. Fishery management aims to preserve the economic and environmental value of a fishery. This is typically accomplished by implementing and enforcing regulations that will promote the economic benefit of a fishery, while at the same time promoting the sustainable harvest of desired fish species. Another important component of fishery management involves monitoring the recovery of species that had previously suffered due to overharvesting. A big aspect of this management involves tracking the population size changes that occur to a species and placing catch limits on them. This usually involves both government agencies and the fishing industry collaborating to collect data and make decisions that will lead to the sustainable use of a fishery. To learn a bit more about how this is conducted, let's watch a short video from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA.
U.S. fisheries management is a complex job that relies on sound science. We manage about 450 stocks nationwide, including 230 of the most valuable fish stocks. A big challenge to studying these stocks is that fish are mostly invisible to us, and the ecosystems in which they live are always changing. Let's take a closer look at the science behind managing one of those stocks, the Pacific hake fishery. Also known as Pacific whiting, it's one of the top 5 fisheries in the United States by weight, and one that was worth $52 million in 2011. The hake fish population has natural and unpredictable ups and downs. We want to take as many hake from the ocean as possible, but still leave enough behind to sustain the populations year after year. That's where fisheries science comes in. NOAA fisheries scientists take a research ship out to sea to collect data on Pacific hake. They use state-of-the-art acoustic technology to find the fish stock and take samples with a net. The data they collect is called the ABCs of stock assessment, which stands for abundance, biology, and catch. Fisheries scientists estimate the abundance or amount of hake in the ocean and collect biological data to determine things like age and growth rates. Meanwhile, fishermen provide catch data by reporting the amount of fish caught while fishing. All that data is then fed into statistical models that range from simple to complex based on the available data for a given stock. The model results in a stock assessment that we can use to determine a sustainable level of fishing. The data will never be perfectly clear. During a hake population boom year, the fish are too small for surveys to count precisely, making it difficult to forecast how many hake will be there in the future. Other years, creatures like squid make an unexpected move into hake territory and obscure results. Issues like these can lead to uncertainty in stock assessment data, which impacts how scientists interpret the data and how managers decide on annual catch limits for the stock. In 2009, the hake survey resulted in a high estimate. In 2011, the hake survey had a low estimate. It was uncertain which estimate was most accurate, but the low 2011 survey suggested that managers should lower annual catch limits in 2012. Since vessel surveys are expensive, we'd have to wait 2 years before more data were available to inform the status of the hake stock again. Not wanting to wait, the fishing industry approached NOAA with an idea: combine another hake survey with the 2012 scheduled sardine survey. Though the two species live in very different environments and require different types of fishing gear, scientists and industry worked together to carefully plan and execute the sardine-hake combined survey. While scientists were working aboard the stealthy Belle M. Shimada using sonar to find both species and trawling for sardines, a second ship, the Forum Star provided by industry, trawled for hake. The combined sardine-hake survey did help clear up the earlier uncertainty of the survey estimates. However, the number of young fish remains high, and NOAA scientists continue to develop cutting-edge sonar technology to improve estimates of these younger fish before they are harvested by the fishery. The assessment brought good news for the hake fishery. Managers decided to raise the catch target by 45% over the year before. The bottom line, fisheries stock assessments are the backbone of successful science-based fisheries management. Rich data streams, strong partnerships, and advanced technology combine to produce world-class science. The U.S. approach for managing fisheries sustainably has become an international model for addressing the challenges facing global ocean fisheries today. Thanks to this process, the fishing industry, coastal communities, and our economy can benefit from profitable and sustainable U.S. fisheries.
Commercial fishing is the capture of fish on a large scale to meet market demand. Commercial fishing practices vary from a single individual in a relatively small boat to a large fleet of trawlers that can process tons of fish daily. Due to an increase in consumer demand for fish, techniques, technology, and gear used to harvest greater quantities of fish are pushing some fisheries into danger of being over-harvested. Trawling is a method that involves pulling a fishing net through the water behind a boat. Although the design of various types of trawling nets is similar, the mesh size of the net varies depending upon the targeted species. Larger mesh allows for juveniles and other non-target species to escape. This is in an effort to reduce the amount of bycatch, or unintended catch, which can reduce biodiversity. The nets are shaped like a funnel so that the targeted species are forced into a collection area. Some large trawling nets are 100 meters across at the mouth, allowing them to capture thousands of fish. Longline fishing is another commercial fishing technique. It uses a long line, called the main line, with numerous baited hooks attached at regular intervals. In some fisheries, especially ones at greater risk of overharvesting, limitations to the number of hooks may be enforced. But in stable, well-populated fisheries, such as the North Pacific Ocean, long lines may be many kilometers long with thousands of baited hooks. Bottom trawling involves dragging a trawl along the sea floor. As the trawl is dragged along the sea floor, it creates a cloud of muddy water which obscures the oncoming net, while the noise attracts fish. Fish are eventually caught and slip backwards into the net, and the speed of the boat towing the trawl is dependent upon the swimming speed of the species of fish being targeted. Because bottom trawling causes environmental damage, concerns about it have led to changes in the design of the gear involved. Mechanisms such as the turtle excluder device help to limit accidental bycatch. Additionally, marine habitats that are particularly sensitive or easily damaged often have regulations that prohibit this type of fishing. A capture fishery or wild fishery is an open area that is not controlled in any significant way. Wild fisheries exist primarily in the oceans, especially along coastlines. On a smaller scale, they also exist in rivers and lakes. Because of the issues caused by capture fisheries, such as overfishing and pollution, fish farms, or aquaculture, has become increasingly popular. As a matter of fact, as of 2016, more than half of seafood was produced by aquaculture. It has experienced an average growth of over 5% per year for the last 2 decades. A variety of fish are commonly farmed, such as salmon, carp, tilapia, and cod, as well as invertebrates like shrimp and bivalves like oysters and clams. Seaweed is also regularly grown and harvested for human consumption, just like land crops are. Aquaculture methods include the use of nets or tanks that form corrals that contain fish. The fish corrals are placed in lakes, rivers, or oceans to contain and protect the fish until they can be harvested. Fish are stocked, artificially fed, and ultimately harvested when they reach an appropriate size. A few advantages of farming fish with this method are that many aquatic habitats can be used, a variety of types of fish can be raised, and fish farming generally doesn't interfere with other water uses. For growing things like mussels and seaweed, systems of ropes provide a substrate on which they can grow. Once they reach a saleable market size, the substrate system is lifted up out of the water for ease of harvest. The use of fish farm ponds or lagoons make it possible to raise fish in areas that don't have easy access to the ocean, lakes, or rivers. The simplest requirement is to have an area that retains water in which fish are kept, fed, and ultimately harvested. Oftentimes, the waste products of the fish can be used to help fertilize nearby agricultural fields. The use of fish farms is not immune to controversy or environmental impact. Many fish species raised in aquaculture receive no meat or fish products in their diet, even those that are carnivorous like most salmon species. Plant-derived protein is used to replace fish meal for carnivorous species, but lipids are not well substituted by this plant-based replacement. Although many fish tend to be animals that collect into large schools in high densities, raising fish above the social density limit of the species results in decreased growth, requires more food, which increases cost, and stresses the animals. Also, as with any high density population, the risk of transmission of disease and parasites increases, and the resulting animal loss decreases the harvest and the profits. The large number of fish kept long-term in a single location results in the production of large volumes of animal waste. The fish produce significant amounts of feces and nitrogenous waste, which, in a high concentration, can be toxic. However, if a fish farm is correctly designed and placed in an area with a strong current, pollutants are quickly flushed out, and the current even aids in overall fish growth. Other concerns exist in regard to genetically modified species such as farmed salmon. If released into the wild, they may have a reproductive advantage over wild fish and could potentially decimate their populations. In 2018, a salmon net pen off the coast of Cypress Island in Puget Sound was initially thought to have been damaged by strong tides. In fact, it was poor management by Cook Aquaculture Pacific that led to the accidental release of over 250,000 fish. The company in question did not adequately clean the nets on the pens, did not maintain the machines used to clean them, knew about it, and then underreported by nearly 100,000 the number of escapee fish. Thanks for watching this fish-based presentation. Take care.